Russia just got hit with something it never saw coming, and the timing could not be more explosive. Ukraine unleashed the biggest drone and missile barrage of this entire war, sending over 1,000 aircraft and projectiles screaming toward Russian soil in a single night. And here is the part that should stop you in your tracks. The real target was not a military base. It was the fuel that keeps Moscow running. And the damage is already being counted in the billions. Putin is promising payback, and it sounds like he means it. So where does this leave the war, and how much further is Russia actually willing to push? Stick around, because we are breaking down exactly what happened, why it happened now, and what it means for everyone watching this conflict unfold. To make sense of June 18th, you have to rewind just a couple of days. Russian missiles and drones tore through Kyiv in a brutal overnight assault, leaving at least 5 people dead and 28 wounded. But the casualties alone were not what set this attack apart. One of the strikes damaged the Kyiv-Pechersk Lavra, a UNESCO-listed monastery dating back to the 11th century, sitting right in the middle of the Ukrainian capital. Flames tore through the roof of its historic Dormition Cathedral. Zelensky did not stay quiet. He told the public a response was coming and that they would see it for themselves. He said the strike on the Lavra would not go unanswered, and that what was coming next would speak for itself. What happened on June 18th was that answer. Back when Russia first rolled into Ukraine in February of 2022, most people expected a quick collapse. Russia had the tanks, the artillery, the air force, the raw numbers. Ukraine was supposed to crumble in days. That is not what happened. Instead, the war kept morphing into something new. It opened as a conventional slugfest of artillery and long-range missile barrages. Then it froze into trench warfare. 2 exhausted armies locked along a front line that barely shifted for months at a time. But somewhere around 2024, a quieter shift started taking over the battlefield. Drones stopped being a side weapon and turned into the main event. Ukraine threw everything into ramping up production, pushing toward hundreds of thousands of units a year. What unfolded on June 18th shows exactly where all of that investment was leading. Ukraine sent hundreds of drones into more than a dozen Russian regions that night. Russia's own defense ministry admitted to shooting down 555 of them nationwide, and Moscow's mayor, Sergei Sobyanin, said roughly 180 were intercepted just trying to reach the capital. Close to 200 drones were aimed at Moscow alone, making it the largest air assault the city has faced in this war. 4 airports in the capital had to pause flights, and at least 16 people were hurt. The main target was the Gazprom Neft oil refinery, sitting on the southeastern edge of Moscow. Reporting from the Kyiv Post puts the facility's output at close to 40% of the petrol and half the diesel used across the Moscow region. Sobyanin admitted that several drones broke through and slammed directly into the refinery. Outside the city, a drone struck a residential building in the town of Zhukovsky. Elsewhere, falling drone wreckage hit private homes, a parked car, a gym, and a shopping center whose roof caught fire. And while all of this was happening, Russia did not pause its own offensive. That same night, Russian forces fired at least 7 ballistic missiles and 239 drones into Ukraine, and Ukrainian forces say they shot down or jammed at least 216 of them. Both countries were exchanging strikes at the exact same time. That is simply where this war stands right now. Zelensky was blunt about the message behind the attack. He said this was never the war Ukraine wanted and that everybody already knows that. But he warned that if Ukraine keeps burning, Moscow will too. He went further, pointing straight at the heart of Ukraine's broader strategy. He said the goal is for ordinary Russians to understand that this war is being driven by one man, Putin, while regular people are the ones footing the bill. That is not just a battlefield statement. That is a calculated message aimed directly at Russian civilians, an attempt to drive a wedge between the public and the government, waging this war in their name. The timing lines up with something else too. The strike landed just hours after Zelensky wrapped up a call with President Trump and French President Macron, a conversation he described as one that could lead to real change. Hitting Moscow on the very same day those calls took place was almost certainly not a coincidence. Moscow is not just another city on a map. It is the seat of political power, the financial engine, the command center for the entire Russian state. Every missile that falls on Kyiv, every blackout that hits a Ukrainian city traces back to decisions made there. Striking the capital itself carries a different kind of weight than hitting a position somewhere along the front. The refinery was not picked at random either. Zelensky has openly described Ukraine's approach as a form of long-range sanctions. Western economic sanctions exist, sure, but they have not been enough to choke off Russia's ability to keep fighting. So Ukraine has shifted to hitting the infrastructure that bankrolls the war directly, refineries, fuel depots, energy terminals, all aimed at crippling refining output, snarling logistics, and driving up the cost of staying in this fight. A refinery supplying nearly half the capital's fuel, sitting right on the city's edge, fits that target list perfectly. Here is what actually makes June 18th different, and why military analysts everywhere are paying attention. Old school air warfare ran on expensive precision weapons, missiles that could cost hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars apiece. Stopping them meant firing interceptors that cost roughly the same. That balance kept things in a kind of stalemate. Drones throw that entire equation out the window. A single drone costs a sliver of what a cruise missile runs, but launch hundreds of them at once, coming from different angles, flying low on staggered timing, and you overload the defender's radar network completely. No air defense system on Earth, no matter how advanced, can track that much incoming traffic forever without missing something. And missing just one is all it takes. Pro-Russian military bloggers who track this war closely reacted to the Moscow strikes by openly questioning how well Russian air defenses actually performed and accusing officials of covering up the real numbers. These are people who generally side with Russia, and even they sounded shaken. Ukraine has also leaned heavily on flying drones low enough to dodge radar, sending out decoys to burn through interceptor supplies and jamming targeting systems electronically. Ukrainian officials claim they broke through 3 separate layers of Moscow's air defense. Whether that exact number holds up or not, the smoke rising over the capital tells you the breakthrough was real. To understand what June 18th really means, look at what happened almost exactly 1 year earlier. On June 1st of 2025, Ukraine carried out Operation Spiderweb, a massive overnight drone campaign that reached deep into Russian territory and hit air bases spread across 5 different time zones, wrecking dozens of Russian warplanes, strategic bombers included. The operation relied on small attack drones smuggled into Russia and hidden inside cargo trucks launched from secret compartments built into the vehicles. The drivers behind the wheel had no clue what they were hauling. As far as they knew, it was just another freight run. Ukraine claims it took out 41 aircraft in that operation alone, including a third of the bombers Russia relies on to carry long-range cruise missiles. The estimated cost to Russia came out to around $7 billion. Spiderweb shattered an assumption a lot of people held on to, that Russia's massive size and depth would always keep its heartland safe. June 18th, 2026 picks up that exact same logic and scales it up, this time aimed squarely at the capital itself. Russia has vowed to respond with frequent large-scale strikes of its own. That fits the pattern this war has followed from the start. Every major Ukrainian strike gets answered with Russian escalation against Ukrainian cities, power grids, and civilian neighborhoods. But that creates a real problem for Russia. Every retaliation against Ukrainian cities just gives Ukraine more justification for the next strike inside Russian territory. And every hit on Moscow raises the political and emotional cost of this war for ordinary Russians, people who, for most of the past 4 years, experienced this conflict as something distant, happening somewhere else, on someone else's soil. That distance is shrinking fast. The Institute for the Study of War has pointed out that the growing frequency, scale, and reach of Ukraine's long-range strikes on major, heavily defended Russian cities marks a real turning point in how this war is being fought. For a long time, the assumption in modern warfare was that a capital city is basically untouchable, protected by layers of air defense, sheer distance, and political deterrence. Ukraine has now broken that assumption twice within a single year. First, with spiderweb against bomber bases scattered across thousands of kilometers, and now with a direct, large-scale strike on Moscow. Every military planner watching this is rethinking their own assumptions right now. Because what Ukraine just proved is not some one-off trick. It is a working model, proof that a smaller, less powerful force can still punch deep into an enemy's home territory using cheap, mass-producible, hard-to-stop technology. The old rules of warfare are not getting rewritten somewhere down the line. They are being rewritten right now, in real time, in the skies above Moscow. So here's the question. Does this kind of drone warfare permanently tilt the advantage toward offense? Or do you think air defense technology eventually catches up and closes the gap? Let me know in the comments.